Thank you, Hindi team. Congrats, Dr. Abhishek. And now we are moving to the English session. Today is our 2074th day of continuous webinar. Today's our guest is Dr. Janaki Tang, and she is the assistant professor in the Department of Anatomy in Rajkot Homeopathic Medical College. Today she is uh, talking about the root cause of miasmatic prescribing in hemorrhoids. And I'll make you as a co-host. And before beginning the session, we'll have a silent prayer. Good evening and welcome everyone once again. And I'm inviting Dr. Janaki for beginning your session. You're welcome, Dr. Please.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you everyone for giving me the platform for this talk. Now, starting. So, is it okay?
Yeah.
So, thank you so much everyone. So, myself, Dr. Janaki Tak, MD Homeopath, Assistant Professor in the Department of Anatomy, Rajkot Homeopathic Medical College from the Parul University, Vadodara. Thank you, International Forum, for promoting homeopathy IFPH for giving me the opportunity to talk. My topic is addressing the root cause, the impact of miasmatic prescribing on hemorrhoidal recurrence. So, during these sessions, we are going to talk about the hemorrhoids and its internal cause, its root cause, its miasmatic cause, and how holistic cures takes place from the anatomical pathology to the holistic cures, the bridging conventional proctology with constitutional homeopathic care for permanent resolutions by considering the circulatory balance, constitutional health, their energetic congestions, that vitality, that susceptibility, that affecting the persons and making the person vulnerable for the certain diseases. So this is all about this session. The historical continuity of systemic understandings that hemorrhoids are not a recent disorder. It comes from the ancient generations. So ancient medical systems recognized hemorrhoids as an expressions of internal pressure long before modern mechanical theories emerged. In the Egyptians era, there's Edwin Smith Pyrrhus documented treatments for the vessels of the anus and utilizing local astringents. In the Hippocratic era, the conditions discharged from the melancholic bloods and establishing an early framework for systemic and constitutional imbalance. So this is ancient perspectives and early treatments in Egypt and Hippocrates we have talked. During the Gallant time, emphasized surgical interventions alongside soothing herbal preparations like aloe and myra, as well as warm baths. In India, the Ayurvedic treatments identified the URSA caused by dosha imbalance, that is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha dosa, that imbalanced, and pioneered the Kshakshutra procedures using medicated threads to cut off the circulations. Traditional Chinese medicine says that linked the conditions to the heat, dampness, and stagnant kai, and used acupuncture, herbal formulas, and medicinal sitz baths. Then shift towards the modern science during the Renaissance periods, that knowledge shifted towards the anatomical observations, identifying hemorrhoids specifically as a varicose veins in the rectal area. During the 18th to 19th century, these advancements in anesthesia and antiseptic methods allows for more professionalized and evidence-based surgical research. During the 20th century, developed the definitive classifications of internal and external hemorrhoids based on the dentate line or a pectinate line, which allowed for tailored, less painful pharmacological and surgical treatments. And during the 21st century of the care, that was actually patient-centered approach, and the current methods are minimally invasive and guided by the evidence-based medicine. So what the focus during the current era is the treatment now emphasize individualizations. Every patients are individual, their needs are individual, their medicines are individuals, and the symptom relief and long-term preventions to improve overall quality of the life. Right now, the modern burden of these ubiquitous elements, this hemorrhoidal disease, is a modern mechanical failure driven by the lifestyle. Modern lifestyles is but sustained by individual susceptibility. So the clinical dashboard, we can see the prevalence is almost 50%, affects approximately 50% of the populations over the age of the 50. And the peak incidents are seen around the age of the 45 to 65. And what is the demographic channels that equal distributions across the genders, and the incidence spikes sharply in females during pregnancy due to the venous intravenous जो इंट्रावेनस जो प्रेशर होता है उसके लिए ज्यादा प्रेगनेंसी में होता है. Widespread medal is shrouded in stigma is almost 75% of the adults are affected by hemorrhoids at some point in their lives. And despite being one of the most common lifestyle related disorders globally, the social stigma often prevents individuals from openly seeking treatments and silently diminishing the quality of life through pain, bleeding, and comfort. This is all responsible for the modern catalyst. So right now the persons are having the modern lifestyles. Just they are the vicious cycle of the modernity, like taking the irregular diet, unhealthy habits, low fiber diet, sedentary lifestyle, lack of exercise, lack of physical activity, working of the hours into the office, low water dehydrations, excessive caffeine intakes, tea, tobacco, coffee. So that will, actually resulting into the pathological conditions and causing the gradually increase in the conditions like pathological results, engorgement, downward displacements, and prolapse of normal and anal fusions. The contemporary lifestyle factors that are primary etiological accelerators that we have discussed in earlier slide, the dietary shift, that irregular meals and highly processed foods, packaged foods, pizza, burgers, and the stimulant overload, that excessive caffeine consumptions, tea, coffee, then sedentary habits like lack of exercise, prolonged periods of sitting, prolonged standing, and hydration deficits, chronically low water intakes. That actually hydration is useful for the laxations during the defecations. So these all are rising the global prevalence of the hemorrhoidal disease. While the exact physiological cause often remains unknown, the modern era provides the perfect storm of environmental and behavioral catalyst. The typography of the anorectum, the normal structure of the rectum and anal canal. So here we can see the above the dentate line and below the dentate line, that is the dentate line or a pectinate line that differentiates the internal and external hemorrhoids. That is the normal normal structure of that area, the around the anus and rectum. And the baseline architecture structures that are responsible in the hemorrhoidal disease, that is normal anal causons that are enlarges, the normal anatomical structure that maintains continence and seal the anal canal. The another one is superior hemorrhoidal veins that does not have a valve, that is a valveless veins that are mainly responsible for causing the hemorrhoids. So notably, lacks valves, making the unsupported submucosal collecting veins vulnerable to venous pooling. And the dentate line, pectinate line, the critical neurovascular boundary separating internal and as well as the external pathologies. So on the right side, we can see the three primary sites for the hemorrhoids. That is 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. We can see in the left lateral, right posterior, and right anterior sides. But secondary sites of the hemorrhoids are just nearby these primary sites. What are the gradings and the clinical progressions of internal process? That is, in the grade 1, the bulge, the vascular changes remain inside the anal canal, so may bleed but do not prolapse occurs in the first stage. In the grade 2, in the stage 2, the spontaneous returns that prolapse externally during straining and defecations, but spontaneously reduces back inside post evacuations. That is grade 2. In the grade 3, the manual override, that is, patient needs the manual help to reduce the prolapse. So prolapses during the defecations and remains external until the patient manually reduces it back to the anal canal. So that is grade 3. In the grade 4, the irreducible mass, permanently prolapsed tissue that cannot be manually repositioned, highly vulnerable to thrombosis and strangulations. That is the stage 4, that is very actually irreversible conditions. What is the pathogenesis? The mechanics of the structural failures. The environmental triggers. In the stage 1, we can see the environmental triggers like chronic constipations, low fiber diet, pregnancy. That is, during the pregnancy, the progesterone, the hormone that is actually responsible for the vasorelaxations or dilatations, and prolonged sitting. So these are the environmental triggers that affects the patient first. In the step 2, increased intra-abdominal pressures. So straining during defecations transmits arterial pressures directly to the valveless venous systems, that is superior hemorrhoidal vein, leading to engorgement and venous stasis. In the step 3, the morphological defects like a continuous pressure deteriorates the supporting connective anchoring tissues, that is Treitz muscles. And in the stage 4, we can see the distal displacement like vascular quiescence permanently dilates, inflame, and prolapse downwards, creating the pathological hemorrhoids. But that is the most irreversible conditions in this whole disease. So sliding quiescence, why happens? Why sliding happens? The mechanical failure, why happens this? So first in the stage, it's intact. The root detects defects, that is hemorrhoids are essentially varicosities of the venous networks embedded in the anal canal wall. In the stage 2, we can see the distensions. The connective tissue collapses and weakens of the supporting submucous connective tissue framework allows engorged vascular cushions to the slide downward. And in the stage 3, the displacement occurs due to the valveless vulnerability and the absence of the venous valves in the superior hemorrhoidal vein subjects these tissues to the continuous unfiltrated hydrostatic pressure. What is the pathological equations that is resulting in the morphological defect? The drivers of the structural deteriorations that are increased abdominal pressures. So triggered by the chronic constipations, heavy lifting, prolonged straining, the venous congestions that are driven by the portal hypertensions, prolonged sitting, pregnancy, elevated progesterone relaxes vessel wall, and the gravid uterus obstructs the venous outflow, and the connective tissue weaknesses that influenced by aging, hereditary venous weaknesses, and a low fiber diet leading to the hard stool trauma that resulting into the morphological defect. The convergence of these forces leads to the engorgement and prolapse of the anal quiescence. The vascular architectures and the anal quiescence, what are the vascular networks that is useful, that is useful because the clinical insights which we have given in the right, that is because the system forms a portosystemic anastomosis, just like a portal anastomosis. So conditions like portal hypertensions can directly engorge these vascular networks. So here the inferior rectal veins, superior rectal veins, superior hemorrhoidal veins, so interior iliac veins. So these all are, forming a network that is, responsible for the hemorrhoidal diseases. What are the mechanical triggers and accelerators? That is chronic constipations, exciting causes like low fiber diets, prolonged sitting pregnancy, and heavy physical liftings. These physical factors as a exciting cause and igniting and underlying constitutional predispositions. So they are actually exciting cause that are responsible for the acute exacerbations. And then igniting that is also igniting the underlying constitutional predispositions, and the miasmatic flares up happens. What are the clinical symptoms and profiles? Bleeding, the typical painless and bright red blood during or after the defecations, mostly internal, and protrusions, fleshy lump that felt during the physical exertions or bowel movements in the grade 2 and grade 4. The pain, that is sudden severe throbbing, indicates a thrombosed external or a strangulated internal hemorrhoids. The discharge and the soiling, that is mucoid fluid originating from exposed prolapsed engorged mucosa. The pruritus ani, the itching, secondary itching, and irritation caused by persistent moisture on the perianal skin. So these are the main 5 symptoms that we can macroscopically notice and investigate in the patient. So symptoms mapping: bleeding, the bright red drops occurring during and after defecations caused by trauma, to the fragile legs textured epithelial layer of the prolapsed occasions. Protrusions, that is sensation of the fleshy lump during bowel movements or exertions. The rectal discomfort, persistent sensation of incomplete evacuations due to the physical mass effect of engorged anal cushions. And pain, not a standard features of internal hemorrhoids unless complicated by thrombosis, strangulations, or any associated features. What are the silent symptoms we can notice? That is gas incontinence. So the mechanism for the gas incontinence is a chronic prolapse, damages the internal sphincter and desensitizes the mucosa. So what are the results? So the result is loss of sensory feedback necessary to differentiate between gas, liquid, and solid, that leading to the involuntary flatulence. So that is the mechanism for the gas incontinence. So mechanism for the fecal soiling. So advanced grade 3 and 4, prolapsed mucosal tissue remaining exposed outside the sphincter that result into the continuous secretion of serum and blood that dries on undergarments or mimicking fecal incontinence. So that is fecal soiling. The mechanism for the mucoid discharge or and pruritus ani is externalized internal mucosa is exposed to frictions and external environments that result into the protective hypersecretions of mucus, creating a moist perianal environment that drives intense itching, that is pruritus, and secondary fungal irritations. We can say the hemorrhoid is an external science. As a physician, we can only observe the local diseases, but as a homeopath, we also have to see the systemic imbalance also. The hemorrhoid is actually an external signs of internal disorders. So what are the local symptoms we can notice? That is the bleeding, pain, prolapse, discomfort. This is the allopathic view, a purely localized surgical disease and venous disorders. But sometimes the pseudochronic triggers like due to the modern lifestyle and sedentary habits and diets, and systemic balance, that is the root of the disease, the true natural chronic disease that is arising from the miasms and invisible dynamic dyscrasia that overpowering the vital force. So as a homeopathy views no part as a disease in isolations, true healing requires stimulating the vital force with a simillimum to address the hidden root rather than merely suppressing the local venous congestions. What is the conventional management spectrum? So standard care progress from low to high invasions. So at the first step, we can go for the conservative and self-care management, that is broadest applications, lifestyle modifications, lifestyle adjustments. So that are the conservative and self-care managements. But when the disease increases invasions, then in the second stages, we can opt for auxiliary methods and medical supports like tropical relief, pharmacological supports, suppository. So that will be helpful. But into the third stages, when the hope for the cure is impossible, then surgical interventions are there, highly invasive, and physical removal of the disease considered as a removal of the disease. So this is conventional management. And this is the treatment they are off, that is conservative management in a grade 1 and 2. They are opting for high fiber diet and hydrations, then seeds bath, warm water to reduce sphincter spasms and avoidance of straining. So that is conservative management. Then outpatient procedures. So that is for the grade 2 and grade 3, that is barren rubber band ligations, cuts, blood supply causing necrosis. So sclerotherapy and infrared coagulations, that are the outpatient procedures we can go for, use for the patients. And in the third stages, in a surgical interventions, in the third grade and fourth grade, when the hemorrhoids are thrombosed, then the physician advised for the hemorrhoidectomy. Milligan, Morgan or Hill-Ferguson techniques are used nowadays. So high success rate, but notable post-operative pains and risk of urinary retentions are there. They are the post-operative complications patient suffers. The inevitable recurrence of the local excisions. So surgery effectively removes the affected tissue, but the vascular weakness and systemic pressure remains. So we must treat the terrain that is deep into the disease. So by the surgical removal, the surface is excised, but the systemic root remains. And the inevitable regrowth, when we surgically remove one part, it increasingly and ever increasing suffering, they are increasing day by day. So inevitable regrowth is there, and the vascular weakness is shift to adjacent tissues. The clinical frustrations of the recurrence, when the patient comes up with the acute symptoms flare, and we prescribing the acute remedies, the patient feels temporary relief from the symptoms and the complaints. But when the constitutional triggers is there, then there is again the symptoms comes up and flares up again in the ever increasing manner. So acute treatment successfully manage immediate pain and vascular swelling, but leave the underlying vital susceptibility completely untouched and guaranteed future flares. So this is the recurrence loop. So what happens into the cure the flare up? So first scenario is the localized remedy is given, the inflammation subsides and patient is satisfied. And after 6 months, the reality is structural susceptibility remains completely untouched. And the interval between acute crisis shortens as the acute disease progresses. And after 3 months, the question is, are we treating the disease or merely managing the local manifestation of the systemic flares? So that is the questions for the conventional management. This is the architectures we actually had talked about it earlier. That is the triggers like diet, strain, stress that flare up the acute disease manifestations. Then acute, yes, that is acute hemorrhoid flares up. Then we can give, we are giving them acute palliative remedy, and then the local symptoms subsides and giving a false cure. Barabar, underlying the susceptibility and the miasmatic tension is there and only there, and not even touched by the acute remedy, palliative remedy. So key insight is that the acute prescribing reset the timeline but leaves the underlying miasmatic tension perfectly intact and waiting for the next trigger. And shifting the prescribing paradigm from local management to the anti-miasmatic interventions. The primary focus on the local management is local venous congestions and immediate pain. In anti-miasmatic interventions, there is primary focus is systemic constitution and genetic inheritance. The mechanism is palliative in local management, and in anti-miasmatic, the mechanism is curative and altering the cellular and energetic susceptibility. In local management, we target the flare-up, the result. And in the anti-miasmatic interventions, we target the susceptibility, the cause of the disease, the root of the disease. In the acute management, local management, the long-term outcome is recurrence and eventually structural failure, ever increasing suffering. And in the anti-miasmatic interventions, the long-term outcome is permanent cessations of the hemorrhoidal cycle. So true cure requires transitioning the patient from the left column to the right column once the acute crisis is managed. The miasmatic strata. So the vector of the cure what is the 3 points for the cure is the acute expressions, examples, severe acute bleeding and ulcerations that suggest active syphilis. So prescribe acute clearing remedy first, then acquired blockage, that structural hypertrophy and engorgement. We go for this, it suggests that psychosis. So address intermediate miasms once acute crisis stabilizes. So this is the dominant miasms we have searched for. Then the fundamental miasms, that is inherited susceptibility of the patient, that is SORIC. So action deliver the deep constitutional simillimum for the permanent eradication of the disease or a hemorrhoidal conditions. So what is the clinical examination protocol and diagnosis? First, visual inspections, left lateral and lithotomy positions we opt for, and observations of the external anal margin to identify skin tags, external thrombosis, prolapsed internal masses of fecal soiling. Then digital rectal examinations. So insertions of a lubricated finger to assess the sphincter tone, identify indurations, and rule out low-lying rectal masses. That is uncomplicated internal hemorrhoids are often soft and not easily palpable. That is digital rectal examinations. But right now and nowadays, the most helpful examinations protocol is proctoscopy. The diagnostic gold standards for the diagnosis of the hemorrhoids. And the direct visualization of the internal anal canal using a rigid proctoscope to accurately observe the internal cushions. Determine the clinical grade 1 to 4 and identify active mucosal bleeding points. So diagnostic contrast in internal and external hemorrhoids, that is for the internal that arises above the pectinate line, and the external that is below the pectinate line. The internal hemorrhoids covered by the columnar mucosa, that is external by the squamous epithelium. The internal hemorrhoids are typically painless and bright red bleeding during the defecations. And in the external hemorrhoids, this is condition is painful swellings and highly sensitive to temperature and touch. In an internal hemorrhoids, that is prone to prolapse and strangulations. External hemorrhoids complications are highly prone to acute thrombosis. So these are the differences. What are the internal hemorrhoids and what are the external hemorrhoids? What is the diagnostic algorithms? So symptoms, first when patient comes with the bright red bleeding pruritus and visible mass. So the physician inspect the rectum and perianal regions plus digital rectal examinations. And if malignant signs are there, then they go for the colonoscopy. Otherwise, use the proctoscopy or endoscopy. If the below the line, then it is a external hemorrhoids. If the hemorrhoids are above the dentate line, then it is a internal hemorrhoids. External hemorrhoids are treatable by the conservative treatment if simple. Otherwise, if thrombosed, there is excisions needed. And in the internal hemorrhoids, the grade 1 and 2 are managed by the conservative management like cyst bath and diet. And in grade 3 is non-surgical outpatient conditions like rubber band ligations and sclerotherapy we cannot go for. And in the stage 4, on a grade 4, surgical treatments like hemorrhoidectomy is needed. So this is the diagnostic algorithms. What are the differences other than the hemorrhoids? That is the rectal prolapse. So that is impairment of stabilizing muscles causing the entire rectal wall of the wall to protrude, present as a concentric mucosal rings, and like the discrete localized vascular cushions of hemorrhoids. Then anal skin tags versus external hemorrhoids. Benign cutaneous protrusions, that is flesh color flap, resulting from prior resolved thrombosis or chronic irritations. They lack the acute vascular engorgement and bluish hue of active external hemorrhoids. And anal sphincter stenosis. In these conditions, fibrotic narrowing of the anal canal, often post-surgical complications, causing painful defecations and narrow ribbon-like stool. The digital rectal examination is difficult due to the tight stricture and constructing with the typical laxity of prolapsing hemorrhoids. What are the other differential diagnoses like anal fissures and anorectal abscesses? Hemorrhoids are painless generally, and anal fissures are have primary symptoms of the anal fissures are sharp, severe, and tearing pains with the bright red streaks on the paper or on the stools. Then its a key physical finding is linear tear in the posterior anoderms. It is the findings of the anal fissures. The anorectal abscesses, the primary symptoms is intense and throbbing pains. In a bleeding profile, usually none. Purulent discharge is there, not bleeding. And key physical finding is erythematous, flatulent, and tender perianal mass plus pyrexia is there. So another one is colorectal cancer, that is red flags and alter bowel habits and weight loss is there. Darker mixed intimated stool is there. And irregular palpable friable mass on colonoscopy or DR is there. So we can differentiate according to this symptoms differentiation. What are the complications happens at the advanced stages? That is grade 4, that is hemorrhoidal conditions, that is irreducible prolapse that causes the complications like venous stasis. Example is thrombosis, that clot formations presenting as a sudden, severely painful bluish perianal lump. The another one is sphincter constrictions, that is like strangulations. Compromised venous return leading to ischemia, tissue necrosis, and extreme pain. Then another one is trauma, resulting in the ulcerations, that chronic mucosal damage leading to the persistent bleeding and potential secondary abscess formations. The another one is chronic bleeding, leads to the iron deficiency anemia. So gradual depletions of the iron stores over time due to the repeated capillary hemorrhages. These are the complications. So what are the self-care and auxiliary measures? That is, self-care foundations are high fiber diet targeting 25 to 30 gram of the daily fiber daily. Then optimize hydrations and avoid delaying bowel movements to reduce mechanical strain. What are the auxiliary measures? That is, sitz bath, warm water to relax sphincter spasms, topical analgesics, corticosteroids, and venoactive agents, flavonoids, to temporarily supports the vascular tone. The cycle of temporary relief drives patients toward alternative paradigms. So the onset is patient experiences pain at the symptoms. Patient having acute symptoms. The patient opt for the conventional care like dietary changes, topical ointment, and standard medical appliances. So say, he may feel temporary relief, like physical symptoms subsides temporary, momentarily. But this relapses, and because the underlying predispositions remain unaddressed, hemorrhoidal recur થાય છે. And this resulting into the invasive options in advanced conditions like surgical procedures are recommended as the final conventional resort. So what is the pivot is the dissatisfactions with temporary fixes and fear of invasive surgery actively drives patients toward individualized homeopathic managements. So why patient seeks homeopathy? So what is the gap between the conventional treatment management and the homeopathic appeal? So the conventional gap is conservative measures, often limited to dietary changes, providing only temporary relief. The surgical interventions, that is invasive procedures reserved for severe cases, accompanied by pain, recovery time, and the risk of recurrence, and the resulting into the high patient dissatisfaction and a search for alternative system of medicine. This is the conventional gap. Now, what is the homeopathic appeal? So that appeals for the holistic approach, does not treat the localized organ or venous network in isolations, but treats the individualized care. So addresses both presenting complaints and underlying predispositions and the constitutional tendencies. So resulting into the non-invasive and long-term resolutions. So recognizing the clinical boundary between the constitutional healing and surgical interventions. So homeopathy spheres is mild to moderate homeopathic hemorrhoids and focuses on systemic healing and preventing recurrence, and viewed as a optimal primary non-invasive approach. And what is the surgical spheres? So that comes under the gangrenous piles, thrombosed external hemorrhoids, persistent bleeding causing anemia. So that all the cases comes under the surgical spheres. So the Hahnemann had drawn the boundary between these homeopathic cases and what cases needs the surgical interventions. So even Dr. Hahnemann sir advocated for constitutional treatment as primary care by explicitly recognizing that surgical intervention is strictly necessary when pathology advanced beyond the curative sphere of medicine. So Hahnemann perspectives on intervention is even the founder of the homeopathy, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, acknowledged the utility of the surgical measures when pathology has advanced beyond the curative spheres. So what the mild to moderate cases that are comes under the sphere of the homeopathy, and the severe and emergency cases comes in the scope of the surgical cases. So mild to moderate, that is the first line of the treatment. The constitutional and individualized homeopathic management targets the root cause and prevent recurrence. And severe cases, gangrenous piles and persistent bleeding causing anemia. So individualized homeopathic management is a powerful first line approach, but it cannot and should not replace surgery when the patient's conditions poses an immediate risk. And miasmatic expressions, the classical miasms is an ancient miasm, historical, fundamental expression of the dynamic miasms are originally mapped. That is the classical miasms. And the modern aura mixed with the lifestyle modifications like environmental toxins, altered diets and sedentary habits and new social stress that resulting into the contemporary expressions. That is the complex, masked or altered presentations of hemorrhoidal disease encountered in the modern clinical practice. So miasms are dynamic forces. We must actively update our understanding of these patterns to maintain clinical efficacy in the 21st century. What is the contemporary research has vastly underexplored the mutations of the deeper miasmatic patterns. However, the deeper miasmatic perspectives and specifically how it manifests differently according to changing lifestyle and environmental factors has been neglected in contemporary research. So what is the conclusion? So without updated miasmatic mapping and individualized remedy selections cannot reach its maximum potential for preventing recurrence. So what should we have to do? That refining modern remedy selections through an updated investigative approach. What we have to do that the first point is identify. To pinpoint the predominant miasmatic influences, that is driving present day hemorrhoid cases, the dominant miasms. Then understand the map exactly how miasmatic patterns have shifted and evolved in response to contemporary lifestyle and environmental factors. And third, evaluate, assess how this updated mapping can directly guide and refine the selection of individualized homeopathic remedies for permanent recurrence-free management. So this is the mapping, the miasmatic influence, how we can go and check for the miasmatic influence, what the patient having. So check for the pace of the disease. Rather analyzing how rapidly the pathology advances. The functional disturbances, observing how normal physiological procedures like digestions and circulations and systematically disrupted. The pathological tendencies, like categorizing the specific ways tissue changes manifest, for example, bleeding, indurations, prolapses. And the most important part is mental dispositions. The evaluating the psychological state and psychosocial triggers accompanying the physical disease. So proper miasmatic evaluations that guides the physician directly to the simillimum and ensuring long-term relief. The path to the permanent resolution. So the physician must have to take in account for the physical and mechanical management of the case with the high fiber diet, hydration, sits bath, and postural corrections. That is mechanical management. The psychosomatic release, that addressing the emotional congestions and learning to trust or release control and resolve identity conflicts to relax the pelvic floor. The emotions and such thoughts are related to the certain disorders. So this is the psychosomatic pattern of the disease. The miasmatic constitutional care, that is selecting the individual simillimum to correct the systemic taint. What is that? That is the deep-seated terrain, that is the miasms, and preventing structural recurrence. So these all considerations will lead to the harmonious vital force and balance to the vital force. So what is the key point? That is true healing requires moving beyond the excision of local tissue by addressing the mechanics, the mind, and the miasms. We achieve rapid, gentle, and permanent cure. What is the psychosomatic connections? So that the pathology of holding on, and that resulting into that thoughts and emotions that resulting into the pathological conditions like hemorrhoidal disease. So there are mainly 3 points. That is the emotional root, the feelings of being burdened, fear of deadlines, unresolved anger, and deep-seated anxiety about the future. Another one is a psychological conflict, that is in the internal hemorrhoids. It is about the control. Barabar symbolizes the issues of the possession and control. I cannot let go. This is my territory. So this is happens in the internal hemorrhoids conditions. The patient with the external hemorrhoids have a complications with the separations linked to the identity conflicts and loss. That shares the expression is like, I don't know where I belong. So that is the belongs to the separations. The third point is physical manifestations. The emotional refusal to release translates physically into prolonged sphincter tensions, constipations, and venous stasis. So homeopathy actually believes in a mind, body, and soul. The whole, everything is connected. And the emotional correspondence in the psora, psychosis, and syphilis also comes into the considerations that psora, in the psoric patients, that is anxiety about the future, have a tendency to hold on, and manifesting physically as a constipation and venous congestions. In a psychosis patient, fear of separations leading to the exaggerated efforts to retain, expressed physically as a hard lump or thrombosis. In a syphilis patient's loss of identity, filling out of a place or a broken, and mirrored physically by ulcerations and rectal tissue deteriorations. What is the miasmatic theory and the deep terrain? So defining the fundamental chronic predispositions that causes connective tissue and vascular system to fail under pressure. So what is, we can see the phenotypes, that is outer surface, and genotype, that is the genetic internal surfaces, that is miasms. The phenotypes, that is the hemorrhoids, we can see as the local manifestations. And genotype is the miasm, that is the fundamental chronic miasms, like this is psoriasis, syphilis, psychosis, tubercular, acting as the invisible susceptibility that dictates how the body structurally degrades. And according to Hahnemann classification of the disease, hemorrhoids mostly comes under four classes, that is pseudochronic disease due to unhealthy lifestyle, bad food habits, and surgical diseases when the condition of the patient is severe. Pseudosurgical cases when the external manifestation of the disease due to the internal derangement, and a true chronic disease, natural, that when disease arises from the chronic miasms. Here is, I have given the paragraph about the aphorism number 210 in the Organon of Medicines, where the Hahnemann sir had talked about the hemorrhoids, whatever in the details, that is comes under the psychosomatic diseases. In the Genius of Homeopathy, Stuart Close has also talked about the hemorrhoids and defines the disease as an abnormal vital process that disturbs life and tends towards structural destructions. That disease originates internally and often begins before any visible physical signs appear. So functional disturbances always precedes structural pathology. So observable pathology represents only the final outcome of the underlying dynamic disturbances. That says the pathology never comes first. That is the end result or end product of the any disorders. In a lectures on homeopathic philosophy, Kent emphasizes that visible disease is only the result. The true cause is dynamic and immaterial. The root cause of the disease cannot be detected by instruments, but is reflected through symptoms. Even in the chronic miasm state, the pathology is not the cause, but the end result of the disturbed life processes. Likewise, J.C. Burnett had also considered hemorrhoid as a manifestations of systemic constitutional imbalance, and J.H. Clark also viewed hemorrhoid as a secondary to deeper pathological or miasmatic conditions also. So recurrence is likely if the underlying constitutional state is not treated. So this is the evolution of the miasms into the modern era. In the historical pattern, it was all about in a harmony. But after modernization of the life and the evolutions had been occurs into the miasms, the shifting landscape is like miasms are dynamic and not static, and they evolve with the passage of time and generational inheritance, and they manifest differently today due to changing environmental toxins, highly processed diet and sedentary works, and psychological stressors. So what is the clinical implications? That we cannot rely solely on historical patterns. We must re-examine and update our understanding of miasmatic expressions in present day patient to maintain clinical efficacy. And this is bridging clinical triage with the updated miasmatic mapping to eradicate the root cause. In our first stage is lifestyle epidemics share. In the second stage, the limits of the conventional management. And in the third stage is the miasmatic solution is there by investigating and updating on our understanding of involving miasmatic pattern. Homeopathy provides a deeply individualized first line defense that eradicates the dynamic root cause of the disease. Then what is the vital role of the miasm in a chronicity of the disease? So the miasm creates the underlying tendency for particular diseases and identifying the fundamental and as well as the dominant miasm, which is crucial for case analysis and ensures long-term relief over mere palliations. So what miasms relieve to the physicians, this I have given in the earlier slides also, that is the pace of the disease, functional disturbances, pathological tendencies, and most importantly, mental dispositions. This deeper understanding guides the physicians in selecting the most appropriate individualized remedy. So in order to get the cure, the physician must have to take care of these miasms, SORA, syphilis, psychosis, and tuberculosis. So severing the cycles, like the acute triggers, the acute conditions flares up, selecting the acute remedy, and then subsides. And susceptibility again causing the recurrence. But when the selecting remedy is on the base of the miasmatic interventions, then it will break. The anti-miasmatic remedy does not merely treat the vein, it removes the biological mandate for the vein to dilate. So it removes the susceptibility. So the result is the triggers that stress string no longer cascade into the pathological response, and the structural integrity of the plexus is restored permanently. And this is the clinical trajectory in the local conditions when the patient treated with the local treatment and when patient treated with the miasmatic treatment. So in the local treatment, palliation occurs, so the patient feels the temporary relief, and again the recurrence is there. But if the patient is treated with the miasmatic interventions, and by considering the constitutional assessment and given the deep acting miasmatic remedy, that definitely restore the vascular tone and eradicate the susceptibility for the occurring recurrence of the disease. So what is the limit of the local treatment? So local treatment are just seeing the superficial vision, wherever it not to go for the dynamic cause. So local pathology treats the visible physical hemorrhoid, and conventional surgery simply and cuts off the tip. And what is the homeopathic pivot? So the homeopathy is actually considered the dynamic cause of the disease, and the underlying invisible systemic derangement, that is a miasm, as a Honeyman states, an aphorism number 210, local venous congestion is merely an external sign of an internal disorder. So the insight is the removing the local expression does not remove the cause, and suppressing the local symptoms can drive the disease deeper into the constitutions, and cure requires eradicating the underlying chronic miasms. In the further cases, in the further slides, I have already mentioned everything earlier, and this is the miasmatic blueprint and roots of the chronic disease, what hemorrhoidal conditions presenting with in a psoric conditions, in a psychotic conditions, in a syphilitic conditions, or in a tubercular conditions. So this is the decoding the symptoms and miasmatic mapping. So this is hemorrhoidal miasm signature matrix in a psoric conditions, patient having a hypofunction and hypersensitivity. Psychosis have a hyperfunctions and proliferations, and syphilis have a destructive natures. And another one is, so this is all I have mentioned some symptoms according to their miasms. The one of the main miasm is tubercular nowadays, that is responsible mainly for the hemorrhoidal disease. Is tubercular intersections and fluctuation and depletions. The tubercular presentations that are the mixture of the psoric manifestation and the syphilitic manifestations. The most common presentation in modern practice, that is highly erratic, rapidly fluctuating hemorrhoids, and the clinical signature is combines the hypersensitivity and itching of SORA with severe bleeding and tissue distractions of syphilis, and systemic indicators are rapid physical depletions following a bleeding episodes alternating with respiratory or generalized allergic complaints, and prescribing strategies. So that is the main features of the tubercular. The main key remedies are the sulfur for the psoric manifestations, the thuja for the psychotic manifestations, nitric acid for the syphilitic lachesis and Asclepius.
Janki,
Yes, ma'am.
we have only 3 minutes more. So
Okay.
if we have more slides means we will have another session about the same topic.
If you are ready, we can do it on 15th
Yeah.
of this month itself or 13th, which is convenient to you.
Okay, so next sessions we will organize afterwards.
Because this is a big subject and a super
Yep.
session. Really.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Okay, so next session we will organize, and then I will actually, this is my topic of the thesis. So the next slides were about my thesis, but we will
Yes.
discuss in later. Okay.
Yes, it's a very big session and seem to be a big one also. You are full of knowledge and you want to share everything, but unfortunately we have only 1 hour. And in those circumstances, we used to give second part of the same topic so that
Oh.
you can come up with some cases also to demonstrate the success stories also
Okay.
here. Because we are promoting homeopathy, and so we need cases to show the world that homeopathy is successful in doing this kind of cases. As we all know that hemorrhoids is a condition where we homeopathic doctors can do wonders. We have a lot of medicines for this. As you rightly point out, it is not for the disease but for the person himself. And finding the root cause of the illness is something different from treating a disease. That's
Yes.
that's the basic difference between homeopathy and allopathy. We used to treat the patient by taking, but unfortunately, people never say what is the cause been. But if there is a theory called cause and effect theory, and if you find the right
Yep.
cause behind the illness, then you will be able to cure the case. That's what what we see from outside is the effect of something that happened some days back or some time before. Anyway, congratulations and thank you for coming over here and delivering such a beautiful presentation. Yeah, and
Thank you.
what I must say, it is a super presentation. Over
You, sir.
to Dr. Rajini.
Thank you, Dr. Janki. It was a really wonderful presentation. I was wondering how much you studied about piles, every aspect you are covering. Now only you said you are doing thesis on that. Really wonderful, very informative, and such a detailed explanation about everything. Thank you so much. We are so thankful to you. And I think we have no time for questions. Now we have to move to the another session. We are expecting your next class. Thank you so much, and moving to another session. Good night, everyone. See you the same time tomorrow. Bye. Thank you once again, Jan.
Thank you.
I think Dr. Ram Parvesha sir, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Anjani. Namaskar, Dhanesh ji, and congratulations, Dr. Janki. Very nice, excellent session. Piles, right? Important aspect and role of mathematics. Wonderful presentation. And internal to external, main cause of disease, dynamic, and result is physical. Hemorrhoid is the physical disease. Treat the patient, not the disease. According to treat the constitutional and dynamic and individual treatment. Very thanks, Dr. Janki. Again, presentation, medicine.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Janaki. Now we are moving to the Malayalam
session. Thank you.
For the Malayalam session, Dr. Janaki, can you please close the screen sharing?
Yes.
And now I am inviting Dr. Shaila for moderating Malayalam session. Dr. Shaila, you are welcome.